Hey Rock Buddies, Papa here. Hope you guys are doing good. Today we're going to talk about the Catoctin Greenstone Formation. We're going to find out what it is, where it is, why it is, and when it is. When it was. So anyway, stay tuned and I hope you like this video. If you do, please subscribe. Helps me a lot. And so here we go, the Catoctin Greenstone. So let's begin by looking at some examples of Catoctin Greenstone. The first thing you likely will notice is it's kind of greenish. It doesn't have to be greenish, it can be black or gray, but a lot of the specimens are green, and that's why they call it greenstone. Greenstone is a metamorphic rock, and you've probably figured out that that green color has something to do with metamorphism. Well, the green color comes from epidote. Epidote is a pistachio green mineral that forms as a metamorphic alteration product of mafic igneous rocks like basalt lava. And here are some examples of basalt lava from my rock house. These samples came from Idaho and the Snake River basalt lava plain. So we know that the Catoctin Greenstone started out its existence as a basalt lava flow and was metamorphosed into greenstone. Now let's find out, where do you go to see Catoctin Greenstone? The best place to see Catoctin Greenstone is Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. Yeah, you just get on the Blue Ridge Parkway near Cherokee, North Carolina, drive north, and you'll hit the Shenandoah National Park, and the main road that goes through there is Skyline Drive, and it rides over mostly Catoctin Greenstone. Catoctin Greenstone Formation runs the length of Shenandoah National Park. This picture shows the Catoctin Greenstone Formation in Shenandoah National Park on the left, but notice on the right to the east, there's also another long, narrow formation of the Catoctin Greenstone. Very interesting. And how did this happen? Here's what the two Catoctin Greenstone formations look like from the air. You'll notice that they are mountain ridges because the greenstone is very resistant to weathering and sticks up. But that still doesn't answer the question, how do we have two of them? So let's find out why there are two long lines of Catoctin Greenstone by going back to the beginning when the Catoctin Greenstone was basalt lava and taking a look at that. This picture shows the rifting of supercontinent Rodinia, and that rifting occurred between 750 million years ago and about 550 million years ago. In the picture you can see the Rift Valley with a lot of volcanoes erupting in that, and that Rift Valley is going to become the ancient Atlantic Ocean that separates ancient North America from ancient Africa. Now there were also massive basalt lava flows in the general area inside the circle that did not result in rifting, and that's what the Catoctin Greenstone started out as, a gigantic basalt lava flow. Around 570 million years ago, the Catoctin basalt lava flows began. They were huge, covering 12,000 square miles of what would become the state of Virginia. This Catoctin basalt lava flow was probably similar in size to the Columbia River flood basalts pictured here, which covered a huge portion of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. Here's what these Columbia River flood basalts look like now after they've cooled, and the Catoctin flood basalts probably looked very similar. But this still does not explain why we have these two long, slender, mountainous terrains of Catoctin Greenstone separated by many miles. This is a picture of the ancient supercontinent Rodinia before it rifted apart. And the brownish textured material is the original basement rock of Rodinia. It is 1.1 billion years old, and it's made mainly of granite and granite gneiss. Here's a picture of the old rag granite gneiss that was part of the original Rodinia basement rock. Okay, so now let's look at this series of Crayola drawings to figure out what happened. Originally, there was the basement rock that we've just talked about of ancient Rodinia. Then when Rodinia rifted apart, the basement rock was covered by this massive Catoctin flood basalt. This flood basalt erupted about 570 or 600 million years ago, covering a huge portion of what is now Virginia. Then after Rodinia rifted apart, the edge of ancient North America began to sink. As the continent edge sank, sandy beaches rose up covering the coastal plain, and then mud from the sounds rose up and covered the sand, and finally limey mud from the deeper ocean rose up and covered the mud. This is called the rift to drift sequence, and those sandy beach deposits are called the Chlorite Formation, which completely covered the Catoctin flood basalts. Then came three major mountain building and crashing events that caused major folding, faulting, and thrusting to the northwest, deforming everything inland. This picture shows you what happened to the rocks that we've been talking about. The basement rock with the Catoctin basalt flow on top of it, with the Chlorite sandstone on top of it, got pushed into a giant upward fold called an anticline. And the immutable forces of erosion and weathering began to take effect. This process removed all of the rift to drift sequence completely away except for the Chlorite, and it eroded the middle of the Chlorite. Below that, it eroded the middle of the Catoctin flood basalts, and below that it eroded a good bit of the basement rock, resulting in what you see here, an eroded anticline. The left side or west side of the eroded Catoctin sticks up because it is resistant to weathering, and that forms the ridges of Shenandoah National Park. And the eastern side of the Catoctin forms the ridges that go from Leesburg through Charlottesville, Virginia. And this is my most very favorite thing about the whole business with Catoctin. This is near Compton Ridge, which is in the northern part of Shenandoah National Park. Look at this fantastic columnar basalt. Columnar basalt forms when you have a big lava flow, and as it cools, it shrinks and forms these multi-flat-sided columns. And it's super cool. And don't you think the pioneers that first saw this thought that in ancient times giants did some kind of funny business with the rocks? Okay, my most excellent rock buddies, that's the scoop on Catoctin Greenstone. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please subscribe. I hope you guys are having a great summer, going to fantastic places and collecting great rocks. And if you have any questions at all about anything, please put them in the comments. I always look at the comments and I always answer them. Okay, so this is Papa saying, happy rock hunting. Papa out.